Hey,
Hello.
hi. Nice to
Okay.
see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for having me.
Now, sadly, unlike a normal Zoom chat, I actually have to switch between us.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it won't. The camera doesn't automatically switch,
Okay. All right.
but both of our mics are on, and I'm hoping that works out okay.
Cool. I'll speak slowly so you have time to switch.
um, and yeah, my picture in picture when you're up on the screen still works. Picture in picture when I'm up on the screen still shows me twice.
Well, it's good. Two times Derek.
Yeah, we won't bother with introductions until noon, but for anyone
Okay.
who is just joining us, this is Barbara Currie from the Mets, horn player
Hey.
extraordinaire.
Eh. Sometimes, some days.
How's everything going?
Uh, well, really well. We just finished our season, I don't know, about a week ago. So I'm doing pretty well, relaxing now and
Okay.
just working on this with you.
Summer plans, summer festivals, anything like that you're doing?
I'm going to see you at IHS in Texas. So I'm going to be playing the opening recital as a featured artist with Jen Montone and Julie Pilot on August 1st. And then
Hmm.
I'm giving a masterclass and a presentation uh, about playing at the Met and opera excerpts and opera auditions and stuff like that. So um, and you're going to be there, right?
Um,
We'll,
yeah.
we'll get to hang.
Oh yeah, I will be there. I'll be there the entire week.
Okay,
Yeah,
good,
I'm
good.
doing on one of the regional artist recitals. I'm playing the Saladin Concert Etude.
Nice.
And then I'll be giving a talk on the brass instrument analysis system.
I
So
was wondering what that was. Bias, right?
yeah, and I really should have spelled it out. I saw um, the program printed and it said, "What is bias?" And like, oh no,
It looks
this
like
doesn't.
bias
Yeah, this
in terms
doesn't
of,
like this doesn't tell you anything.
uh,
And I'm
well, I figured because it was all caps that it wasn't like bias in the workplace or
yeah,
something. But yeah, I could see where that would maybe be an issue.
right. Yeah, so I'm gonna
But
have to try to do some Facebook posts and stuff like that on the company page to sort of
yeah,
like, hey, you
yeah.
should come to this. It's about acoustics, not social
You know,
issues.
I wonder if they have, Jennifer seems to have a digital program happening too, like with a QR code. So maybe they can, spell it out there
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit
yeah,
better.
yeah. I may ask. I do know in the month run up to the show, she's probably so busy right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know how she's doing it. It's insane. And like 3 weeks ago, I actually got COVID. Um, and I had to not play for about 3 weeks or so, or like 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
And getting back into shape and stuff is really hard after that. I'm like, oh. But yeah, I'm glad I got it now as opposed to, the day of the conference or something. That would have been bad. Yeah, I'm imagining she's going to have a lot of cancellations and a lot of things changing and
Yeah.
personnel changes and stuff like that. So, but I'm excited. It'll be nice to see you
Oh yeah.
in the Houghtons.
Yeah, I think like me and Casey, my wife, will be there. We'll
Mhm.
have another employee, Katie, who's a horn player. She'll be there as well.
Awesome.
Karen and Janet Nye, who wrote Recipe for Success, they're going to be there and they're going to be giving some educational talks.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I'm not sure if Dennis is going to be there because Dennis
Okay.
is also doing like before IHS, we have ITF, the International Trombone Festival,
Mhm.
and we'll have your accessory there too on display.
I was
Uh,
wondering what ITF was because I had heard of obviously like the International Trombone, what is it, Association or
yeah, the trombones seem to do like
they
the
have.
ITF is their version of IHS.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, and they have another big one, STS, which I forget what it
Oh,
stands
that's what I
for.
was thinking of. Yeah.
But the big one is ITF. That's going to be in Arkansas.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the trombonists seem to really at the Met seem to really like the brass witch. And I guess now that we're at starting time,
oh yes,
maybe.
we are at noon. Okay, and yeah, I've gotten confirmation that the sound and video is good
Excellent.
on both.
Excellent.
So yeah, so
This,
this will be the official start.
this
Basically,
is
when I edit the video start time and end time, I'll start it
yeah.
here. Okay. Well,
This is
welcome. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, welcome everyone to today's live stream. I'm Derek Wright from Houghton Horns, and today we're going to be talking about an accessory that really improves your playing life quite a bit. I've only been using it for about a week now, but I've actually loved it. I've played several rehearsals with it already, and it's really really great. So I'm here with Barbara Currie of the Metropolitan
I,
Opera Orchestra, I guess to be.
we have a lot of names: Met Orchestra musicians, Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, Met Orchestra. It's just we need to, yeah, we need to get one name.
But yeah, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I thank you for having me. First of all, this is awesome. This is the official launch of this project that I've been working on for about 2 years. Before the pandemic, meaning like 2 months before the pandemic kind of really started in January, I was in Paris, which sounds amazing, right? But I was there with my husband. We just had a very quick vacation without the kids for the first time, in 18 years. And so I was at a museum there called the Museum of Arts and Sciences, I think, or Arts and Measurements. It's a really cool industrial design museum. And just they have all this cool stuff going back to, the 1400s, these different scientific, devices and things. And anyway, in the gift shop, they had a pencil that had a little magnetic pencil cap at the end. And I got it because I thought it was really cool. Just it looked cool and stuff. And so brought it back and, started rehearsals at the Met. And I realized I could kind of like attach it to the stand, kind of, but it wasn't very strong. And it started like spiraling down the stand. And then, of course, operas have a lot of tacits. So then, of course, everybody started grabbing it and putting it on their stand and watching it spiral down the stand. And, this was kind of an amusing thing to do during tacits. It's just like a slow spiral. And anyway, for some reason that day, I'm the fourth horn at the Met, one of the fourth horns at the Met. But for some reason at this time, I think somebody was sick. So I was playing assistant horn and there was just a lot of time off. And I started kind of daydreaming and thinking like, these hard plastic pencil clips that we all know and love are fine. For me, they kept kind of falling off because it felt like the plastic was too hard. It kept scratching up my horn. Like I have all these scratch marks right here. And so the clip would fall off on occasion. The pencil would fall out of it quite frequently, no matter what pencil I used. So I started thinking, I think it'd be kind of cool if you could attach this magnetic pencil that I got in Paris to the horn. And how do you do that? And I started kind of looking into that. And then the pandemic hit. The Met closed its doors April 1st. And it was a very scary, freaky situation because New York City was kind of one of the epicenters of the pandemic. So we ended up leaving a week later, going to my parents in Chicago. And I had a lot of time on my hands all of a sudden. So I started looking around at different magnets and different magnet strengths. And there's a really cool magnet called a neodymium rare earth magnet. So this is a very powerful and small magnet. And so I started buying a bunch of, there you go, Derek, I see. I started buying a bunch of magnets just to kind of see what strength, what size, how long they should be or how fat they should be, and started really messing around with it. And I finally got what I think is a great fit. So I don't know if you can see here, but this is the brass witch. Woo! And it is made by Marcus Bona in Brazil, which is cool. There you go. Oh my God, that's exciting, Derek. I'm just floored that, that that this has come to this point. It kind of just started off as a fun design kind of, project. So anyhow, I started messing around with different fabrics. I made tons of these on my own, and they were all okay, but none of them looked like professional. They just looked fine. And I started going to the local like shoe repair shop to ask if they might want to make them for me. I tried the seamstresses at the Met Opera. They helped kind of with some of the design elements, but and they were made really beautifully, but they were very complex and a little bit too thick. Um, and so anyway, during the pandemic, I was very involved with the Met Orchestra musicians, social media, and all of the things that we did. We did a lot of digital concerts. We had our own live streaming service that we started using through Sarah Willis. And one of the things that we did was we gave well, in the very beginning, we actually with Houghton Horns, we did a Met Horn talk with Houghton Horns, and just to kind of provide some attention to small businesses, because at the time we thought we were coming back to work, which was not going to happen. So we spotlighted Houghton Horns, Jim Patterson, Josh Landers in New York City. We had a whole fundraiser for him with Wynton Marsalis and all these amazing New York City freelancers. Anyhow, one of the things that we also did was I organized some master classes with Marcus Bona's. He's got a really cool school for the local community kids that are not able to afford instruments or lessons. So I organized Met Brass master classes for his school called the Lira Braganza, which was awesome, which was really, really cool. So that was kind of the development of my relationship with them, with Marcus and his son, Andre. And at one point, after kind of realizing that shoemakers aren't going to want to, or shoe repair people are not going to want to make as many of these as I would have hoped. And, it was hard finding a seamstress during the pandemic that would want to take on a project like this. It just occurred to me, I was like, maybe I should speak with Marcus and see if he's interested in helping me make these. I thought he'd say no because he's got this big company, but I showed him a video of the strap, that the straps that I had made and some photos, and we talked about it. And he said, yeah, let's start developing this together. And so they've been incredible. And Andre is actually the one that recommended that I reach out to you, Derek, to help with, with distribution and things like that. So anyway, this is the brass witch, and then I have a magnetic ring on this pencil that just clips to here. So as you can see, maybe here, you can hear how loud that click is, and it's great. It doesn't scratch up your horn. It's I don't know. It's just a nice feel, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just want to let everyone who's watching us know we will be taking questions and addressing comments, and not just about the brass witch. You can ask about Barbara. You can ask about the Met. Anything you'd like. Anything too personal, I'm not going to say anything about. But just feel free. We just want to make this into a chat, to a conversation. So go ahead and ask your questions and chat freely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We recently had principal horn auditions, and we will, nothing's announced, and we haven't even picked a date yet, but we will soon have probably second horn auditions, as well as eventually probably another horn audition, within the near future. So it's always scary to think of taking an opera audition, I think, because people don't know the excerpts as well. But I have to say, it's some of the best, most beautiful music out there. So despite the long hours, it's a nice section, and get to hear great singers too. So that's kind of cool. So Derek, you said that you've been using this for the last week or so. What's your experience been compared to, like the traditional pencil clip on your horn?
What I like about this is speed. It's all about speed, really. Like if I need to write something, pencil off, write, put it back.
Yeah,
And there's
exactly.
no delay, just off again,
Yep.
back.
Yeah.
And anybody who's, especially with certain conductors who like to stop, make a comment, go right away, you know how important it is to get that pencil out quickly instead
Yeah.
of digging on your stand on your shelf to try to get it, or and the plastic pencil clips, while they are undeniably economical, um, you can't take them off and put them back on very fast. And if you
Yeah.
try, there's a good chance you're going to break it.
Yes. And oftentimes I found I needed two hands to put the pencil into the pencil clip, into that old style clip. Just sometimes it just wouldn't fit quite right, or just the top part would go in, but not the bottom. So, I'd have to put my horn down, put it in, and then pick it up again. And, you know, I understand that, if you're a beginner, this might not be something that is that essential to you that you can do this quickly. But if you're, in middle school through being a professional, for me, I find that it is really important to be able to always have your pencil with you, and in rehearsals especially, but even in performances. And like you said, sometimes something happens during even like a final dress rehearsal where you get lost, and then you think, oh, okay, he's in four, not in two. Okay, I thought he was in two. It looked like two. And so I'll just quickly write, in four in my part and put it back on and not have to think about it. You can just do it with one hand, not a big deal. Um, so that's I think the big advantage.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat now
Yeah.
from Kyle J. Does the brass witch mount to different spots on the horn, or does it only fit a specific spot?
Thank you, Kyle, for your question. That's a really good question. First of all, let me just say, on the brasswitch.com website, and there's a link through Houghton Horns on their website, there's something called a fit finder. So you can print that out, and the printed out version, if you cut out the straps, are the exact size of the straps. I mean, it's made out of paper, so it's not going to have as much pull as the vegan leather. But you can put it anywhere on your horn, but it depends on your horn. So it really is dependent on if you have a triple horn, if you have a double horn, if you have a Con, if you have an Alex, if you have a Yamaha. It totally. So let me just show you. It has, so there's Velcro, right? So with this size, this is the large size for a Geyer style horn. This is the best place, for me to have it. This strap in particular would be too big to put over here, for instance, but we do have an extra small strap that will fit on a single tube. So that one could fit if you wanted it there. So that way you can kind of customize, wherever you want it. Um, I would just say look at where you primarily want your pencil to be first, and then go from there. So, just say, okay, normally I want my pencil, I don't know, some strange random place, I guess, like here, down here, which nobody really does, right? Let me see if there's a strap that fits that. Most likely you're not going to want it on a bend like that. So you're going to look for a straight place. So if you wanted it here, I would suggest getting the extra small strap, which fits on the tube itself. I like it here on the side, so it kind of tucks in a little bit, and it's the best place for me, personally. Hopefully that clarifies things.
Yeah, I was actually just like giving it a try on the top here. It's like, I guess you could do that if you wanted to.
I mean, yeah, you can put it anywhere you want. I have a funny picture with my brother Thomas, who is the associate principal horn of the St. Louis Symphony, and I just saw him visiting our parents like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, and I had like five of them in different sizes. So we put them all over his Patterson triple. So he had like five different brass switches all over his horn. Just kind of funny with five pencils, um, which leads me to my other point. I don't know if Kyle is even a horn player or not. I didn't quite catch if he was.
I would assume so, looking at his profile picture, which is a horn valve section. So
That's awesome. Okay. So, this is not just for horns, first of all. So trombones, trumpets, which trumpets currently don't, I believe, don't have at all a pencil clip option for trumpets. There may be something that I'm not aware of because I'm not a trumpet player, obviously. Maybe they tuck it into like a leather, the valve section or something. But as far as I know, there's not really a good option for trumpets. So no more excuses, you trumpet players out there, for not writing things into your parts. But anyway, it's for tubas, euphoniums, chimbassos, which are like those that Verdi used. Those, it almost looks like a trombone, but it's played by a tuba player, so it's got this big bell. And anyhow, another benefit of this, and I don't want to, I'm not condoning this at all, so please, don't get mad. But a lot of the trombone players would have a lot of fun trying to throw the pencil at their trombone and catching it with their trombone, like trying to catch it. And these are professionals, so don't try this at home. But no, it is fun. I have to say, it's kind of a fun accessory. I think it brings joy.
I'm curious.
Boring.
Yeah, I'm just curious now. Have any of the Met trumpet players used it?
Yeah, a few have, and Billy Hunter, Gareth Flowers. I don't know if you know him. He's been a regular sub with the Met for many years. I didn't catch a lot of them because just the way that the schedule was going. I kind of was focusing more on the trombones, the horns, and tuba, which all the trombones have tried it at the Met, and they're all using it, and they all love it. Sasha Romero is one of your Houghton Horns big TMEA video makers, I think, right?
Yeah, and she'll be back this year. You already got her scheduled.
Yeah. I have. There's a photo when she first kind of announced herself as Sasha. There's a photo where she has two brass switches on the trombone. She has the one that goes on the tube, and then the one that goes on the brace of the trombone. So that was kind of fun to see. If you go back, you'll find it.
Okay.
The trumpets like it. I think they are. Some of the trumpets seem a little bit resistant to just the concept of having a pencil. I hate to say it on their horns. Like, it's just kind of like a shift in, not that they don't take notes, but I think it's just something that is, a new concept kind of for them.
I was just curious because I've just noticed trumpet players get a little weird about stuff on their instruments. We used to, like, with all of the instruments we have in the shop, we put like a little price tag with a nonstick backing on the instrument. And not a problem with any other instrument. On the trumpets, a lot of trumpet players kept trying to take them off to try it. It's like, I need to take this off to try it. And it's just like literally just this tiny little price tag. And they're like, it's not affecting the sound of your horn. But the trumpet players were convinced it's affecting the sound of their horn. So
I have to, it's interesting that you say that, Derek, because that was definitely something that I came across as well. And, I don't know if it's maybe because the trumpet has a smaller amount of tubing than the horn or trombone or tuba, but for me and for many of my colleagues, they've said that they actually somehow, I don't know what it is. I'm not going to make any claims, but that they feel better when they have the magnet on their horn, that it somehow enhances almost their sound. And like, I know it may sound like a bunch of voodoo or whatever, but there's some kind of connection that they feel to having it. And I'm saying that in all seriousness, so that like when they don't have it on, they're like, I kind of feel naked without it. It's like, it's strange. It's become a part of my instrument. So this reluctance that you're talking about with the trumpets, I think, is a valid concern. When I play the trumpet myself, I don't notice a difference when I have it on, but I'm not a professional trumpet player. But I think it's interesting because they also have these big leather wraps that go around their valves and kind of encompass the entire valve section. So I'm not sure why that's okay, but maybe a small little piece of, leather affects it. So I don't know. I don't know if that's an issue or not. But one thing I was toying around with was trying, in that valve section leather thing that they have,
Yeah.
seeing if I could put a magnet inside there so it can somehow click, through the valve section. But it's a little hard because with trumpet, there's not a lot of spaces. So I just have it on the bottom part. But, you know, we'll see.
Hmm.
I think if they tried it, they would love it, is what I think. Especially, I can see them having a lot of fun with it.
Hmm.
Trumpet playing in general.
Well, no, horn players love it, and I know they already, horn players are used to having a pencil on their horn. Like I was
Yes.
actually
Yeah, that's
playing,
a bonus.
yeah, I was actually playing with Fort Worth a couple days ago. Like everyone in the
Oh
section was
yeah.
like, "Oh, that looks really cool." Like when are you guys
Yeah.
gonna start selling that? Like, wow, I need that in my life.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this is like I don't believe in like supernatural stuff, but somehow with these magnets, it has some kind of a nice attraction, I guess. I don't know.
So we have another question here.
Sure.
Uh, hello, horn player from Georgia, named Joshua Wood. I
Hey,
really
Joshua.
enjoy this product. Have you had musicians from other orchestras slash ensembles try this aside from those in the Met?
Yes, I have. And, because this is something I don't normally do, I don't usually, I'm not in the business of starting a new company, very often. This is kind of a new thing for me. So I pestered my Met colleagues just, a lot over the last few months. They were testing it and making sure they all liked it, took photos and stuff. And then, once I stepped out of my comfort zone of the Met, I went to Alana Gartrell at the New York Philharmonic. I ran into her. We played for the Julie Landsman retirement legacy concert from
Hmm.
Juilliard. And she was there and she actually put it on her horn and took it on tour with them to Germany. And I have a cool photo I'm going to share with you on the Brass Witch social media soon. So she loves it. I have not actually given it to Richard Dean or Leilani Starrett yet, but I did give it to Chad Yarbrough to try and Theo Primus, who are both kind of regular subs with the New York Phil, and they both really like it. And I sent it to a trombonist, principal trombone of the Royal Concertgebouw. His name is Jürgen von Rhein, who is a very famous trombonist, and he loves it. He's on vacation right now, but he's going to make a video using it. Um, and Joe Alessi also is going to try it when he's home in 2 days, but he's also very excited. So it's just a matter, I'm a one woman kind of company, so I'm trying to get it out there as much as possible. But between that and working at the Met, it's a lot to juggle. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, but
and
yes, I
yeah,
think
and
oh,
although
in St. Louis too.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh true, yeah. And although we've only had the product for a week, there have been it's already been given out to several people to try here too. So
oh, cool. Yeah. Any
hmm.
any what so the people in Fort Worth, the horn section, Fort Worth, did you give any of them to those players
Yeah,
or
I gave one to the principal, Jerry Wood.
okay.
I haven't received any feedback from him yet, but he seemed
I'll
very
reach out
interested
to
in the
him.
concept.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. I've given one to David Hyde, associate principal in Dallas, but I gave him the wrong size.
Oh no.
I gave him the regular large one, but he usually plays a Schmidt triple. So next time I
um
see him, I'm gonna have to swap it out for the extra large.
yeah, I was just trying to think. I mean, the thing to remember too is that some people like the comment from before, the question from before. Some people like to put their pencils in different places. So there could be a place for the large size on a Schmidt triple, or there could be space for an extra small, like if you're just going to put it around one tube. So I really do think the best way is just to look at that fit finder, print it out, and just put it around your horn and see which one you like, just so that like this is the right size for me for my particular horn.
Hmm.
Um, I was
I
gonna look.
I assume
Yeah,
was that inspired by the Apple Fit Finder for the Apple Watch? Because
I don't know. Actually, my daughter Emma is helped me make that, and she came up with the name Fit Finder.
okay, yeah,
Probably.
I was just curious. I recently bought I bought my wife Apple Watch for her birthday, and
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
oh, they have this like whole thing you can print out to find out the size of the watch band
Did he
that you need to
seriously?
buy.
Oh my God, that's where she
Yeah.
got it from. I didn't even know. You know what? I think that I was just looking. The triple Schmidt uses a large strap. Isn't that the size that it's the size that you gave him? I think, right?
Uh, he said he couldn't find a place on the horn, so I told him I'd swap it out
Show
for a
him.
different size. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think, uh, yeah. I can also talk to him at some point. Um, so yeah. Any other questions so far? Sure.
no other questions in
Any
chat
Met
so
related
far.
questions?
Yeah,
um,
like it's not often these chats have someone from a guest is someone from the Met on it.
yeah. Well, I'm on summer vacation now, so.
Right. I saw that picture that you posted of Brad. Well, most people
Uh-huh.
don't know you run the Met Opera Musicians Facebook page, right?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
picture you put up of Brad Meinhardt winning the audition had a brass witch in it.
It did. It did. Yes, I know. That was a great picture. I wish it was a little bit more focused, but that photo got so much attention. It was like, 1,500 likes and like 60,000 people saw it or something. It's crazy. I think that the horn players posts tend to do pretty well on the Met Orchestra Musicians Facebook page. But it's yeah, no, that was great. That was a great moment because Ugo also auditioned for this, and he played so well. Also, it was just such a tight, you know, they just both sounded beautiful. So, and I think it's because of the brass witch, honestly.
Yeah. It was because of the brass witch.
I
Well,
think
well,
so.
well. Speaking of the auditions, and I don't mean to ask anything that you can't speak about,
Mhm.
but was there anything different about this set post-COVID versus the pre-COVID Met auditions?
A good question. I mean, since I did an audition, I'm not sure what happened so much on that side of things. I know that they had to submit a negative COVID test. I'm not sure if they actually had to be vaccinated or not. I know usually to enter the Met, you have to be vaccinated and boosted. I mean, all the
Mm-hmm.
employees do,
Right.
and the audience members do too. It's been pretty strict, but I'm not sure about that. I do know that they had to submit a negative COVID test, and I do know that there were some people that tested positive and couldn't come, which really sucks. Can you imagine all that
Mm-hmm.
work and then yeah. I would say it was very standard in terms of a normal, typical pre-COVID audition process. We definitely had a smaller pool of people that showed up, meaning that, first we have for people who are students or who don't have any professional experience yet, we ask them to submit a tape. So first you submit your resume and you say whatever you've done. And so if you're a student like I was when I won my first Met job, um, I was a student, so I had to make a recording.
Mm-hmm.
Tapes are no longer used. A recording, and then depending on how well the recording is, then you can come and take the audition live. So the recording is pretty important. And then you just come into the semifinal round, and there is a difference in Met auditions just all across the board, pre-COVID and post-COVID. It's the same. We have a screen up the entire time, so in the finals we do not know who is back there. Our music director is not required to be there, and in fact, if the music director was there, they would just get one vote. There's no talking about who you're going to pick or who you like or who you don't like. There's just no talking. It's total silence, which I think is quite different from most auditions. So in the semis, we asked for, I want to say 6 excerpts. Some of them were really hard. We had the short call on there. We had from Wozzeck, from Berg, an excerpt on there. It was pretty hard. We had Tosca, the third act opening, which is a unison lick, which is very comfortable to play. and some other things that I'm forgetting. I think Mozart maybe. But we also listen to everybody's excerpts. So you can't say like, oh, they listen to all my excerpts. That means that I did really well. We listen to everybody's excerpts. And for me, I think that's important to show that respect to people who put in all the time to learn their music.
Yeah.
You know, being cut after 2 excerpts or 3 excerpts is something that I don't find, is very respectful. If it's possible to listen to the whole list, I think that's better. So anyway, we went from however many we had in the prelims, and then we go to the semis, and then we go to the finals. So I think we had 4 people in the finals. But it was also happening the exact same time as the Philly third horn audition was happening.
Oh, I know that because I actually kind of wanted to take both, but I had to choose one, and I chose Philly third horn.
Yeah. And I mean, do you know how many people showed up for that? Was it
For Philly third horn? Oh, it was a lot of people. They had like 5 days of prelims.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, it would have been a better bet to go over to the Met because we had a few days of prelims. But also the nice thing about the Met is while the list looks scary, a lot of it was symphonic stuff. We had, Mahler 7, we had Bruckner, we had a lot of Strauss, like Heldenleben, and I think we had Don Juan on there. And Till, so like a lot of common kind of excerpts. And then a lot of the ones that are less common, but you should still know, like the short call, the long call, Rheingold, stuff like that are common on auditions. And then so that right there is about 10 excerpts that most people kind of have some experience with. And I think there was a total of 29 excerpts, and a lot of those are really short. They might be 4 measures long or something. So you're talking about a good 15 excerpts that you have to learn that are more difficult, like
Right.
Billy Budd and whatever.
That's not really all that bad at all.
It's kind of not. Yeah. And, I mean, how many times can you practice Brahms 3 and keep it fresh?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I took an audition last fall. It was for a principal position, so I understand the length of the list, but it had over 50 excerpts on it.
Oh my gosh.
That was a tough one to prepare.
Yeah. No, I think that's crazy.
Yeah, that took me all summer.
Yeah. And it's just, it becomes so much that you can't even really focus on what you really need to focus on, I loved when I auditioned for the Berlin Philharmonic quite a while ago now. And I ended up borrowing an Alex like 3 weeks before the audition. So it didn't go that well, but they had, a Mozart first movement of 2 or 4, I think, maybe 2, 3 or 4. And I think they had 6 or 7 excerpts total. And a lot of them were opera excerpts, Rosenkavalier, Rheingold, all this kind of stuff. And so it was, I thought that was actually great because you can tell a lot from one Mahler excerpt. It doesn't necessarily, I took an audition for fourth horn in a large orchestra in this country a couple of years ago and did quite well. But that list I felt like was so long, it was like every Mahler symphony was on it. And I was thinking, do you really need every single Mahler symphony?
I think I know what position you're talking about because I remember that list and I remember okay, good luck to whoever wants to take that.
Yeah, I know. It was just a little ridiculous. I'm like, I think you could just play Beethoven 9th for a fourth horn audition, and that's it. See how that goes. We actually were joking about that during the Met audition. We were saying, what was it? There was one excerpt that was just a lot of people had a hard time with. And I'm forgetting what it was, but I was like, you know what? Next time we'll just have this one excerpt in the prelims, and that's it.
We'll get through the prelims very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. No, we're very happy that Brad is our new principal horn. So we have at the Met we have 2 horn sections essentially, although right now we're just down to 6 players, so we're really dying of overwork.
Yeah.
So normally we have 2 principals, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, and this last year there was just 1 fourth horn, which was me. So I essentially played almost everything. And same with our third horn player.
Right.
It was crazy. So what's going to happen is Brad's going to play principal with Eric. Ann Scherer is playing second horn, and then they hired for 1 year. Roy Feminella is going to play second horn,
Okay.
which is great. And then for third horn, Ugo Valverde is moving from second horn to third horn for the year. So he'll share that with Javier. And then I finally get another fourth horn player. We hired Stuart Rose, who is a big New York City freelancer. He's
Oh yeah.
he's played principal horn at the Met, even for, some of the Ring, a couple, 10 years ago. Really nice guy. And he's going to be playing fourth horn. So
Hey.
we actually have two sections again. And there's a lot of rep next year. It's a lot.
Okay.
Not the Ring cycle, but it's kind of like every opera has a full section, except for maybe two, I think, all season. So the full in the pit, and then like a full section on stage for many of these things.
I
So
see, but you're glad that there's finally two sections again.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was kind of dumb.
And I will say, I've heard of the Met's unique audition process before. I've always really appreciated it, and I will say, like the Met section, not just the horn section, but the entire orchestra is very diverse, more diverse than you normally see from an orchestra.
Yeah.
And I wish people would pay attention to that audition process.
Yes. I think the audition process is a gem that should be replicated by as many orchestras as possible, because we are, as humans, biased creatures against anything. I mean, even if we're not thinking about it, even if as a woman, I could be somehow biased about seeing a woman with a certain type of clothing or something. I mean, it's just a human nature. And I think to remove all of that is the way to go.
Yeah, and especially when we start talking about people's students and friends and things like that, and coworkers, and you can be biased by so many things.
So many things, and we're not even aware of them half the time. It's like if one of my colleagues' students was playing, and I know the student, and I know that everybody loves him, I'm going to already be thinking, oh, this person's really great, and that could work against the person auditioning too. If you have these high expectations and they maybe have a rough time, that might not work well for the auditioner as well. That brings me to something totally not related to like horns in specific. But, as somebody who does a lot of creates most of the content for the Met Orchestra musicians, social media, in the beginning, it was a kind of a larger team. And when all the George Floyd protests were happening, we were very inspired to examine ourselves and to see, like, how can we be more diverse as an orchestra? And we spoke with trombonist Weston Sprott, who is the second trombone at the Met. And he's also, I don't know how he does this, but he's also the dean of the Juilliard pre-college program. So he's all over the place. He's amazing. And he spoke with us for a long time just about all these, issues surrounding equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging. And we kind of completely, as an orchestra, this is one of the things I'll talk about at IHS. We just really tried as much as possible to understand that we don't know anything about this. Really, we hadn't really searched ourselves about these issues very deeply. B, that the audition process needs to stay like this with the screen up always. And C, we really tried to start focusing on pushing the Met to become aware of these issues and to start hiring people that are generally underrepresented, whether it's women, whether it's certain people from certain backgrounds, whether it's whatever it is, composers from certain places. And so our first opera this year was by Terence Blanchard. So that was the first time we had a Black composer at the Met ever, and it was our opening night. So that was amazing. And it was so well received. I mean, it was like a party, like every night the audience was so riled up by this. It was great. And then, during the last 2 weeks, we had 3 female conductors in 1 week. So out of 7 services, 7 performances, 6 of them were by a woman conductor, which we most of the time don't even have a single woman
Right.
conducting the Met.
Which is kind of insane if you think about it.
Well, when you
Half the
think about
population.
it, yeah, we think that half the population is women, and we have no women at the Met conducting. But and that's not all the women that we had conducting. We had several others earlier in the season as well. And you know what? They were great. No surprise there, but they were great. And we
Yeah.
loved it. So yeah.
Well, I think a huge part of the diversity problem of classical music right now and I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, people are talking about affirmative action and quotas and stuff like that. I think if you just get rid of the bias, just make things more fair, you will have more diverse ensembles.
Yeah. There's no reason to not have this diversity.
Yeah, and I mean, like a lot of, like, there's a lot of bias, not only like when that screen comes down in the final round, even just like with like who you choose to like invite straight to the finals and
Yeah.
things like that. And
We have to
especially
stop doing that, but yeah.
yeah, especially like orchestras that like to do like very, because I don't know what the percentages are, but I feel like most orchestras will end up inviting most people,
hmm
who
Yeah.
apply. But a lot of orchestras have very, very strict cutoffs. And
hmm
a lot of times I wonder, like, if you do that and then you don't offer a tape round,
Yeah.
how many people are you cutting off that
Oh, yeah.
that
I
could have
mean,
been there?
yeah. I forgot about that. A lot of people just reject the application, and that's the end of the road for that person. I mean, I know I was a student when I won. It was actually the third horn position at the Met, and I was runner up to Anne Scher. She was, I think, a master's student at that time, and or no, she was in the Columbus Symphony already. But most of us in Julie Landsman's horn studio did take the audition. All of us had to make a recording because we were students, and even though we were at Juilliard and we thought, oh, we whatever, we still had to make a recording. But we at least had the chance to make a recording and then prove ourselves through playing. And those recordings are anonymous. When the Met players listen to those recordings, there's no name on it. It's just a number 1, number 2, number 3. So completely anonymous, which I think is very fair. um, Going back to that initial part of the pandemic, when the Met Orchestra actually drafted a statement, an EDIB statement, so equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging. It was after a lot of introspection and speaking with Weston and with other people and stuff. Um, it kind of pissed the Met off that we did that, even though we weren't getting paid.
Right.
And they thought, we should have consulted them first or something. But we felt it very important that, like, in the administration, that there is some diversity, and there wasn't at all. And that's fortunately been changing now. But one of the best things that we did was we started working with this middle school in East Harlem and this band program that's there. And we started doing Zoom, master classes with them. And then once we were able to go into the schools, we would just go into the school several times, and we did master classes and we played with the band. And at one point we had the head of the whole, the school chancellor for New York City came, and they did a televised thing, the local TV station and stuff. And we're hoping that once the COVID restrictions are kind of loosened, we want those kids to come and actually sit next to us in rehearsal, at least just for a half hour or something, not with their instruments, but just sit there and know what it feels like to actually rehearse. What's the process of this, and what's the behavior? What do you expect from, what's the level of music that you expect in rehearsals and stuff like that. We just thought that would be a great way to kind of, mingle with these students and, maybe have
Yeah.
lunch in the cafeteria afterward and stuff. But
That
there's a lot
sounds
of
like.
nice changes, I think, going on at the Met.
Well,
So
I'm really encouraged to hear that, and I know Weston is involved with Sphinx quite a bit, which is
yep.
an organization I've been involved with for the last couple of
hmm
years, and yeah, it's great. If you haven't heard of Sphinx, you can Google it. It's basically an organization whose sole goal is to promote African Americans and Latinos and Latinas in music and getting more into orchestras.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's like there's just this barrier, whether it's psychological, like, that's why we went to this middle school, because it's like, hey, we're playing with you in rehearsal, like in their band. We had like 5 Met musicians just play in the rehearsal together. And they were, they remembered us every time we came back and stuff. And it was just like this feeling of like, hey, you guys can do this. It's just takes practice. You got the talent, you know. Um, and I think that that's very important to the young kids, is just letting them understand that this is a possible pathway.
Yeah. We have a question from Molly Pate. Do you,
Hey, Molly.
yeah. Do you guys do section playing in your finals? If yes, how does that work with the screen up?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do not do that. It had come up as a possibility. We were thinking like, okay, what if we want to do this? How do we do this? But then whoever would be behind the screen playing with them, let's say it's Eric Boralski, his vote would no longer be counted, so
Right.
it's kind of, I don't know. I think we kind of said no. They did play with piano. We had, it was, I don't know if it was they could choose which Mozart, first movement of a concerto, or if it was just one specific one. I think it was a choice. So we did have a Met pianist come in, and they played with them, which the Met pianists are awesome. They're used to following singers, so it was like very eye-opening. When they all played together, it was like, oh yeah, they're like old friends. They've been playing together forever, but they had just met. So that was very fun. Really quick, I know this isn't what you talked about, Molly, but when I did take that Berlin Phil audition, it was with piano. We had to play a Mozart first movement concerto. And I felt like that pianist was just like, this is the tempo and you have to follow me. And it was a very fast tempo. It was just so zippy. I was like not used to it, and I kept trying to slow her down and like, lengthen the eighth notes as much as possible. And it just became a disaster. It was like, okay, I have to go with her. Okay. So that was not what was happening at the Met. But no, we do not play in the section. Definitely not.
Okay. By the way, Molly did say hi back to your hello.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm hoping that the next few years just continues to see change in the way we approach auditions,
Hope
and
so.
just like the way we approach. I mean, I think a lot of it also has to do with. I don't know how we got on this subject, but I'm just gonna go
I
on
don't
with
know.
it anyway.
That's good.
Like who you asked to sub in the section.
Oh God, that one's more fraught with, you know,
Yeah,
who's
I know.
around.
I know. But we
Um,
but we do know people who are subbing usually they do get a leg up as far as winning just because they know how the section plays.
that's a very complex relationship, isn't it? Because
Hmm.
in this case, it worked with Brad because he played a whole year on principal and then took the audition. Um, but I have to say that, first of all, well, I'm not going to say anything because it's personal,
Well,
but
yeah, yeah.
he couldn't play at the Met for about 10 days. This is about 3 weeks before the audition, for some reasons, which was kind of freaky. And then, for me, I almost find it more difficult sometimes, like when you're kind of, I feel like the expectation is so high that I should play so well in the audition because I know this stuff, that it can kind of, intimidate me a little bit. Like, I played assistant horn for a year and a half at the Met, and then the fourth horn audition came up, and I was not really a fourth horn player. I'm much more naturally set up, I think, to be a high horn player. And so I just worked my butt off, and I played for Charles Putnam from the American Horn Quartet at the time. We were on tour in Europe, and he was there, and I played for him and tried to get, comfortable playing low. And then I did a mock audition before that audition with Julie Landsman, Michelle Baker, and Joe Anderer. And that freaked me out so much. It was like 2 weeks before the audition that, it was helpful because then for the audition, I didn't feel quite so nervous. But I felt like I had a lot riding on it, you know.
Hmm.
It's kind of, I think it can go either way. It can be very beneficial, but it can also make you totally nosedive. So it's tricky. going back to your substitutes and all that stuff. I mean, I think sometimes in smaller cities you don't have that much choice because there's just simply not that many horn players. And but even by smaller, I mean even a place like St. Louis, like where my brother plays, he tells me about how many people there are, and it's a small pool.
Yeah.
In a place like New York, there's a lot of people, but there's also it's more complex then too, because many people have Broadway gigs and they can't just take off Broadway gigs all the time to come play at the Met. A lot of people are, subbing full time at the New York Philharmonic, so they don't have a lot of time off either. So it's a bit of a juggle. We're fortunate because we have Stu Rose coming in, and then Roy Feminella was a student of Eric Rolsky, and in high school of Javier Gandara, our third horn. He was at the Juilliard pre-college program, so there is definitely a history there. He also studied with Julie Landsman, I should say, sorry, at Juilliard. But it's a lot of times it's kind of like when the person starts playing in the section, how does it fit? And, of course you can make mistakes. Of course, things happen. But in general, over time, you kind of start noticing, like, does this person fit into the section pretty well or not? And some of it's personality too. I have to say, if somebody's pretty easygoing, it makes it easier, obviously.
Well, yeah.
So yeah. A lot of questions always with that. But at the Met, we decided we will always have auditions for anything that's open. So even if somebody's filling in like Brad did, sorry, but you have to audition.
Right. I mean, which I think makes total sense. By the way, just super quick question before we go, because you normally like to keep these to an hour, and we're headed up to that point. So we both play Medlins. I was wondering what mouthpiece is in your Medlin.
Okay. This is an Olifant, an A10, which is what I was using in my Patterson also. I'm not convinced that this is necessarily the best mouthpiece for the Medlin. So I'm looking forward to IHS just to try some different mouthpieces. Houghton
Horns, we'll have plenty. Sorry. As I go to Houghton Horns, we'll have plenty of mouthpieces there. Sorry.
Go to Houghton Horns, buy a brass switch, and get a mouthpiece at the same time. The brass switch is much cheaper than a mouthpiece, by the way.
Very true. True. Sorry, keep going.
So I will definitely try a lot of mouthpieces at Houghton. But yeah, I mean, I also love my Patterson double. And so I feel like this mouthpiece works really well with the Patterson double. And I'm kind of just finding that I like both of them. So I'm going to just play two horns at the same time from now on. But no, Brad Gemeinhardt played his Medlin for the principal horn audition at the Met. It sounded beautiful. Javier is playing it on third horn. Ugo is playing a Patterson triple right now that he'll probably continue doing on third. But he and Ann Scher are both getting Medlin horns too at some point this summer. So I'll be curious how they like it. It's got a beautiful sound, enhanced by the brass switch.
Yes, by a brass switch. In case you haven't figured out the moral, the overarching theme of this talk.
I'm totally shameless about that. And I have to say really quick, I don't know who's listening or anything, but I want to say a huge thank you to my Met colleagues for being so supportive. They've been really, really awesome, and kind of helped me through this whole process. So just want to say thank you to them, and thank you to you, Derek. You've been incredibly helpful with all these logistics, with business and everything. And also obviously to Marcus Bona and his son Andre, who've been can't thank them enough for being as patient as they have been through all the little design tweaks and stuff like that. So, and if anybody has any questions, please just private message me on Facebook or Instagram, or go to the website, or you can email me at brasswitchaccessories@gmail.com with any questions. I just want to help people, find this accessory and use it and be happy with it. So any
Uh,
suggestions
and,
too?
and thank you so much for designing such a great product. Like it really is cool. Like I thought it was going to be cool when we started talking about it, but when I got it and started using it, like it's just super
Oh,
convenient. Just right on.
thank you so much. That means so much to me. It really does.
It is an accessory I doubt I will ever not use again.
Yes. Yes. And I'm also starting to develop another aspect of this, let's just say, that could potentially be used by all musicians, not just brass players. But that's 6 months away. So, but it will be something very cool to use with your brass witch. So I think, it's a beer holder. Sorry, I just gave it
Every,
away.
every musician needs that. Late night practice
I mean,
sessions.
yeah, just a little shot glass, like for when you just can't get that, phrase right. You're just like, try it again. But yeah,
Well,
but
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you again for joining me for the talk.
Thank you
Like,
so much. And I'm so excited to see you at IHS and everybody who's listening. I'm excited to meet you at IHS as well.
yeah, please come to Kingsville and see us at IHS. You're one of the featured artists, right?
I am. I
Yeah.
am.
So
I'll be on
what?
the first program. Yeah.
Say that again.
I'll be on the first recital with Jen Montone and Julie
First.
Pylant.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun. That is one of the shows I will be at.
Okay,
At,
and I will be at yours.
at,
Also, yours is the bias. That what day is that?
oh, that's gonna be
Next week?
Thursday morning at 8 a.m. in the dead time. Uh,
Okay, you will be there.
but
I'll
but
be there.
yeah, I'll be talking about the brass instrument analysis system. I've done some streams about that before, but if you want to see it in person and just hear
I
more about
do.
horn acoustics,
Yes.
that'll be great. And yeah, later I'll be on one of the regional artist recitals. I'm playing the Solomon Concert Etude. So
Okay.
that
Awesome. I will definitely be there. It's kind of a big deal to play at an IHS because people know what you're doing.
yeah, I know. And I wanted to choose something that was out of my comfort zone, which is
Oh,
contemporary
good.
music. So this is this is doubly.
Doubly, doubly. I know. It's a lot. Yeah. Okay, I got to go practice.
yeah, but yeah, and then aside, are you gonna do any master classes or anything aside from
Mhm.
the recital?
Yeah. On Tuesday, I'm going to do a presentation. I forgot the time, but I think it's 11 or so, 11 or 12. A presentation about all the things that the Met Orchestra did while we weren't paid for 18 months, essentially,
Okay.
and how to kind of harness the energy of your group or the power of your group to, get things done for the group. So it's going to be, a lot of like, some talk about marketing and relationships and networking and how to do all these things. Because what we were able to do was pretty extraordinary in the amount of time that we had. So that's going to be my first presentation. And then the second one is going to be basically kind of what we talked about today with people playing opera audition excerpts. So,
hmm
if you're coming, do look at that. We'll have some section stuff and some solo things and stuff too. So I think some of my students are coming from Bard Conservatory, so I'll have them play as well. But it'll mostly illustrate the fact that in opera, oftentimes one eighth note does not equal the next eighth note. They can be very different. One can be 10 seconds long, and the next one can be half a second, and
Okay.
yet they're both eighth notes, and you have to be prepared for that. It's a little bit more improvisatory than than a Sousa march or something.
hmm
So
Well,
just kind of talk about that.
well, I'll definitely be there. I think I need to. I think I
We
need to know more about
we have a
that.
lot of auditions coming up. We have a lot of openings. So yeah, definitely good to always look on the horizon,
yeah. Well,
see
well,
what's coming up.
well. Thank you again, and I will see you in Kingsville.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you everybody for watching.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.